but it's quite warm. But of course I've got to be covered up, don't I, if I want to sit here casually in front of no one, or maybe one or two people. And I've tried putting this landscape. I don't know how to set it. It just, when I press go live, it just starts in this portrait mode, and even if I turn my phone, it doesn't seem to change that for you guys. It just means that I'm sort of over on the edge. And okay, well, what was I wanting? Hey, Cement Shoes, how are you doing? Have you've had chance to? Thank you. I mean, I'm up this way, right? And people keep saying, why does this chick keep filming, this way? So I had my phone, I was trying to go live with just a bit of a wider view and maybe sitting back on the sofa. Instead, I'm having to sit on a little poof. The lighting's terrible. Should I turn some lights on or off? It's catching all me angles, isn't it? Sorry. So anyway, people are picky, aren't they? They're looking at all the wrong things. That's for sure. Have you had a chance, or have you been interested in, or had a chance to read Bryan Kohberger's Arrest Affidavit? There's so much there's just some bizarre commentary, and I think there's I just came on here now because I'd gone onto a certain person's show, a live that was over, and it was a long one, so I thought, well, I'll just hop in, skip along, start playing, see what she's talking about. And holy moly, right? Holy moly. Sorry, once I get in the right spot, I'll stay. I think I'm more comfortable sitting looking this way because of my neck and my spine, so I'm always sort of doing that. Everyone's covering, yes, this alleged freak, shall we say, as Cement Shoes called him. But this live that I just jumped on to have a look at, I mean, not the only person, but the bashing of Dylan, and it's this kind of speak, isn't it? Oh, sure. Look, I don't want to start making a big fuss about her, but come on, call 911, right? And this is a woman that says she has experienced fear. Oh, Cement, yes. So in the traffic stops, I'm pretty sure that these were planned by law enforcement, by the FBI, set up so that they could get a read on him, get some footage on him, just ensure that they are tracking the exact car. It's kind of like this chain of possession sort of thing, whatever, the chain of evidence. And oh, wow. I mean, that one frame that the second pullover cop captures is priceless. The look on his face, right? But yeah, I mean, oh, look, we shouldn't laugh, but his dear old dad, yeah, we've just come from Washington State. Have you heard all about the shit that's been going on there? Yeah, it was, it's unbelievable. That's fodder. That is material. Rightly or wrongly to say this, but, I know that this will make one of the best Lifetime movies, right? Oh, and that's me. The other thing that really incensed me about what this person who knows better was saying, oh, all I can see is that it looks like the dad's DNA is on the sheath. And, look, I'm talking about Critical K, okay? Look, I'll never go on her show again. She's never going to invite me anyway, so whatever. Everyone says no one's got balls or Sorry, I got to rein myself in, don't I? Because this won't make sense to anyone that actually does watch it. I'm just talking to cement. Yeah, I really wanted to have a serious talk about that, cement shoes. Okay, so if you've ever been on one side of a door where uncertainty, where violence, where hatred, where terrorism is on the other, okay, you will wait it out. Every moment is an eternity. Every fiber of your being, every nerve, every hair, it is like no other feeling. And you are in this very specific type of limbo. Sheer terror. Yeah, sure, we'd all like to think, I like to think now at 50 years old, I would act differently than I would at 40 or 20. You will wait an extraordinary amount of time because the perpetrator, the thing giving the danger is probably long gone, and it would have been within seconds maybe of Dylan seeing this perpetrator. But you don't know. You don't know that next split second they are breaking down that door and you're getting hurt, murdered, dragged. And the way your mind works is, I'm 51, cement, yeah, in that 50 club. The way your mind and your body work, it's the hormones and I can't scientifically explain it right now, but I've felt it, and you can't, that waiting, you don't know what to do, you're trying to decide, you want to go out, and look or do something, but you're so frightened because your brain is convincing you that danger, it's there up against the other side of the door, and it's listening to you too. And you are listening everything. You are straining with every cell in your body. And this can go on for hours. And you know how exhausting this is? And you know what happens after these, these intense situations, right? People wonder, how do people sleep? You sleep and then your body just goes, right? So and what seems like 10 hours, maybe 1 or 2 hours, maybe until dawn was coming up. Now, I wish Dylan had called 911. I wish something had happened. I wish she'd maybe seen him go, heard his car go. Maybe she didn't even know if there was only one person there, right? And she was still scared. Maybe she thought if she rings now and tells, he'll come straight, he's going to get her before they catch him. We don't know, right? But we shouldn't, I feel like the best thing is just to not discuss her at all, because I think she deserves that at the moment. Hey, Josh, you know that fear, right? And how those hours translate that fear for you, and then what it does to your body. We don't know. Maybe she had left her phone somewhere. She couldn't call on her own phone, and maybe eventually when a call was made, it was from Bethany's phone. So maybe she was just too frightened to try and go out and have a look for a phone. We just don't know, right? She could have been drunk, but she didn't have to be. But all the other housemates seem to have been out partying. And there's no reason to believe that Dylan and Bethany both, hadn't both been also drinking. But you may be going to do something more stupid when you're drunk. I'm not sure. Like more stupid, as in take a risk quicker to get out. So I just got so infuriated to hear the way this 55-year-old woman was talking about this 20-year-old girl. And she is a girl. You think you're very grown up when you're 16, 17, 22. I mean, yes, you're an adult actually. And in primitive times, you'd definitely be 20, 26. I mean, she opened the door 3 times though, right? So can you imagine, you're not sure of what you're hearing. She was trying to listen. She opened the door. Imagine that 3rd time you see the spectre, the devil Josh in her house. He went right by her. She probably smelled him. He would have stunk. He would have stunk of sweat, of hormone, maybe of blood. And who knows how long she held her breath. She would have gone icy cold. There's so many functions going on in her mind and body. And even if your this tiny rational part of your mind is telling you that they've gone, that they're not there, or that what you fear isn't going to happen, the threat has to have gone, you won't believe it because you can't take that risk. And who knows, if that had happened to her on another night and she'd had a different day and it was a different time and things were slightly different, maybe she would have charged at him, screamed. Maybe she might have run by him. Maybe she would have gone up when she heard the girls, right? So it's way too early, isn't it, to say anything to Dylan. And let's not forget, Murphy can't speak up for these murdered children, or young adults. I don't want to be disrespectful. They were young adults on the cusp of truly flying away from university and into other nests of their own making, to Texas. And Kaylee's example, the other 2, I think 2 still had more schooling to go and 2 were slightly older. I think Zaina and Kaylee might have been older than Dylan and Maddie. Something makes me think she was paralyzed with fear until Bethany. She wouldn't have trusted. Maybe Bethany's just come upstairs and just, as Bethany's come up the stairs, right? She's come up the stairs. You turn, you look hard right. If Ethan or if Zana, her foot or anything was in the door, you'd see it. So maybe Bethany has even seen these poor people first, Zana and gone in and just pushed open Dylan's door. Did she find, situations like that? You're in a corner. You will be there all night. You might fall asleep with your head under a coffee table, or you're under the bed. You're in the wardrobe. And the exhaustion, the way that this fear drains you, it's so completely depleting, okay? It's so hard to describe. If you haven't felt that, that is a blessing. And not everyone goes through something like this. People have all sorts of experiences in life, huge highs and lows, but probably not everybody feels real fear. We're domesticated now, right? And some people, depends what scares you. I'm not talking a slight shock when you might get tugged under a little bit in the ocean. I'm not talking those jolts you get when someone just comes by your window, but then you instantly realize who it is, and you want to scold your partner because they've given you a fright. It's not their fault, right? Yeah, fear shouldn't be harangued, harassed, and bullied And this creator also, I mean, she's reading the affidavit. You can clearly see that it says that the DNA found within the sheath, well, the DNA in the garbage from Coburger's father's home, the DNA they got is 99.999% likely to be that of the perpetrator, the person who owns the knife, their father. Okay. I mean, this guy, he's cased the joint, right? Not turning his phone off those times, using his own car, all these times that he's gone late evening, early morning, he's finding out what time these young adults come home, usually if it's a party night. This Doordash, I mean, for a minute there I thought that he was going to be the Doordash deliverer. She's got PTSD. Dylan will be in a living, waking nightmare right now. She will not be okay. She will be reliving that. She will be opening that door and standing right there with him going past. She will be reliving that. She'll be having nightmares. She might be agoraphobic right now and unable to go out anywhere. So if she needs to go somewhere to see a psychologist, to just, she's not doing these things on her own, I would say. She's not just walking around living life, maybe feeling like a little bit of a schmuck, but hey, scared, I didn't know what was going on. We don't know that she felt okay, made a lapse in judgment, decided to write off this demon walking by her, leaving footprints in blood. Murphy will be traumatized, okay, to people understand. Dogs have this trauma too, and that, if only he could talk. We can't be sure from the affidavit that it was Murphy barking, but I think it was. And don't you just think, you good little boy, right? He did. He tried to bark, and then he was just put in his room. And that might have been common procedure for the household when they were having parties. He's used to a lot of comings and goings, and that might be common procedure to be locked in the room. Maybe he barked a little bit after that and then settled down. We don't know. And yeah, Dylan's got to testify. Oh, I mean, this Doordash guy, imagine. But they must have, they were crossing paths, maybe. These kids up to the wee hours, and then wanting to order food. We never used to have that option as young adults, not in my day. You made cheese on toast if you had anything in the house, and that was that. But imagine calling Doordash. Would she have even have waited for it and eaten it? Yes, it says clearly in the affidavit though. Hello, my friend Mark, how are you? We're just talking about a couple of things about the affidavit, mainly talking about what other people are saying about Dylan. It's clear in the affidavit that agents talked to the Doordash person. Don't know why, I suddenly thought that could have been a woman And that's even scarier. And I don't know why I thought that, because it's terrible all around. Yeah, people are the experts. I mean, I'm not an expert, but, I know enough about fear to realize that we have to cut this poor lass a break. Sure, yes, wish, woulda, shoulda, coulda. We'd all like to think that we might act a certain way in certain times, but this is what I usually have a problem with, that people don't really put themselves in. They're sort of responding at such a surface level. They're not going into some sort of meditation and imagining, and maybe they've got nothing to relate it to in their life, right? And knowing what this truly would have been like. If that, I would have lost control of my bladder. That would have been something, you would just close the door, back away, and you would be listening so hard and because she might have been second guessing what was going on until that moment that she saw this person go past. So, and imagine, okay, now, knee-jerk reaction might actually be run up the stairs. What do you mean someone's here? Or go and try and investigate. She could have been killed on the stair. But there's a lot of shenanigans going on in the house, but that, maybe that scared her enough just to listen, and then maybe she heard something else again and got really scared. She was still trying to go out to have a look. If she's opened that door twice and then the third time she's seen this perpetrator, it means that she's wanted to go out, she wasn't sure, then she heard something that made her really want to go and help, so she was being brave, but she's seen Bryan walk right past her door. So that, you're telling me that might not stop you in your tracks, and it might not do something to you so deeply that you can't act? Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think the evidence, circumstantial evidence, let's say, of Bryan Kohberger casing the area, I don't think the evidence of him turning off his device, I don't think the evidence of the knife sheath with DNA is going to set him free. Just trying to... Can't bring up chat. Why not? Sorry, I just want to see what Cement said about the situation. So, sorry. I can't scroll my chat. Oh, you shared it. Oh dear, Josh. This isn't the thank you, but I'm not really here to say anything. I'm just having a bit of a gripe about the Dylan bullies who just need to back the fuck off. They need to get in the truck and reverse it into the next county, because there's no place in this situation for all of the, oh, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, let's not be mean, but I understand what you're saying. So, and a bar attack, I could hold my own. This house attack at night, she had to be nuts. God bless her. I can't understand that. Yeah, well, that was really it. And then I had some other gripes about Delphi, but yeah. So Josh, when you were looking at do you think those traffic stops, they were clearly scripted, weren't they? The 2 traffic stops. Do you think that? Because I think they had to have been, because they had enough time. They can't say because it's illegal. Oh, there's got to be some loophole, right? There's got to be some, yeah, I think so. And I think he's just a horrible driver. Yeah, was he trying to hide his plate, right? Because I don't know, it's different in America to in Australia, because oh, thanks, Matt. Yeah, that's such an interesting case. But I wanted to make a few points using that case as example. But in Australia, we have front and rear license plates, and I'm pretty sure in every state and territory that's legal. You can't drive without your plates or having anything covering the plates. You'll get pulled over. Say you've got something hanging out your boot, you'll get pulled over if it's covering that. But yeah, I wonder if he's had, because he'd removed his front license plate, and was he just trying to tailgate so that as he's going through under, how on highways there's often, hi Jean, oh thanks for popping over. It's probably not going to be very interesting for you. It's just that I was talking about the fear factor, and if people can't understand what fear does and how Dylan not doing anything for so long, if they think that is just weird and abnormal and stupid and irresponsible and all of that, well, then they are talking out of their buttholes. So, yeah, and I wondered if now he's had to put his license plate back on the front of the car, he's tailgating so that when they go under, where you have the signage saying which way to go on the highway, they have cameras, speed cameras and things there, and you can be picked up. Mark, one of them did. They go, "Can I see your license, mate?" And then he gets it and he goes, "Okay," because they just wanted to check that it was Bryan Kohberger, right? And normally we've all seen enough traffic stops to know that they get the license, they say wait here, they take the license and registration to their car, they get on, they read it out, and they check if there's not outstanding warrants. Yeah, she did. She saved her life. She could have just died along with everyone, and now, she'll be able to be a witness. Yeah, but they didn't run it. That's right, Mark. he took it. One of the traffic stops took the license, looked at it, so they knew that they were following the right car. And then, yeah, but that was it. They didn't go, normally they'll take the license to the car and get on the 10-4 and see if there's outstanding, what a palaver, and I thought they were really cool. I thought they a bit frustrating that the second one bent down on the car and filmed most of the car, but he did get a really good shot before that. Hi, Linda. How are you? Nice to see you. Yeah. So that was really interesting, but I just can't get over the arrogance of this guy. Someone was asking me in a comment, I think, do you think he was studying criminology, to try and understand himself, or to because he's got a sick fascination? It's definitely the fascination. He doesn't care to try and understand himself or to understand criminals, I should say, and the mindset. He did it all selfishly, all with a mind, I think, to do something. Golden State Killer studied criminal justice too. Okay. Cement, right. Now, talking about that, okay. What do you think about Richard Allen? I reckon he would have done a little whoopsie in the cemetery. Hi, Patsy. They realised the first cop didn't get good video footage. Oh, did I get this the wrong way round? Because I thought the stop that we saw first was the second stop. The footage of the door was the second stop, because he says, oh, they've already pulled you over, but what sort of vehicle? Oh, it was an SUV. Who could that be? Maybe it was county. I mean, we don't even know what authority that was that pulled them over, right? I think the one of the door was the second one. I think they were just doing some sort of mental shit with, I don't know what they wanted to do. Maybe they just wanted to check his demeanor after he'd been stopped once. I don't know. Ah, that's interesting. So they had to, yeah, sorry. Oh. He gives you creeper vibes. Richard Allen gives creeper vibes to you, Cement. And Cement, isn't it so funny? Both Richard Allen and Bryan Kohberger have expressed to their attorneys their utter surprise, their utter shock that they have no idea what's going on, right? I mean, the evidence is clearly better against BCK, I think, than Richard Allen, which is why Richard Allen is only charged with, he's charged with this particular type of felony murder relating to abducting the girls, moving them off the end of the bridge. Look, he got home, he didn't, isn't it lovely? Isn't it lovely for his parents that they got to have, one last Christmas, the Christmas that, these other families didn't get to have together. Another fascinating tidbit, and maybe Josh, you've heard of this, because we know that Mrs. Coburger is a teacher or in some sort of position at, I think, at the high school that Bryan attended, and I just learned today, I hope it's true, do you know, she wrote a paper or an article about Theodore Bundy, and we all know that Ted Bundy, if you've seen his death photo, it will give you nightmares. It's not a pleasant thing to view, and you can see that he suffered beyond the suffering that death row does to someone, right? Which is why it's kind of a good idea, because it's true punishment for a murderer. But she wrote a paper about Ted Bundy, that putting him to death at the death penalty, she didn't use, the term cruel and unusual, but she said that it was awful, that it was horrible what was done to him. I don't know why she has singled out Bundy. So if this is true, I mean, this just could be this sort of Reddit, this sort of Reddit Facebook bullshit, right? That people love to come up with. They do it very quickly as well, and they know exactly what buttons to push, right? It's like the people that made the OF account for Maddie, or yeah, but if that's true, that's very interesting. Yes, the first video we saw was the second stop. Does look like his hand's swollen. I don't know how long some sort of injury there would be, but I have certainly broken a few blood vessels in my body in my time, and sometimes 4-5 weeks, and the swelling may not be down, and it does look like you can't see any definition in that right hand, and it looks sort of swollen and shiny. So it does look damaged, but we don't have a benchmark of his hands, right? And you don't know if it's just the sinew here, She has written a crappy op-ed about death row inmates. I have to get my hands on that, Josh. That fascinates me, because I was thinking something has grown. There's a seed in him, right? So his mother's been interested in it, That had her attention, right? And, we can't go and psychologically dissect him right now, but, the fascination has to start somewhere. You were 12, Cement. Oh, holy shit. And that's it, Jean. It was so quick, right? It was a frenzy. And who knows? Yes, he could have taken something, but I don't think he did necessarily. When you think about him stealthily keeping it together, driving around 3 times, actually going up that little cul-de-sac area, I think, before the house, and then going off to try and park. I mean, he was going to park right outside that house, was he? Far out. Do you know what? I wonder if there's more to what the Doordash man has to say. The Doordash person wouldn't know who lives in the house, although Bryan, dressed as a creeper, isn't going to be able to walk and go, oh, hi mate, hold the door, and act like he's drunk and pretend to walk in that way, right? Don't know. But I wonder if Doordash didn't shut the door properly. Someone's gone down to get the food from Doordash. Did they leave the door open? Or did he come in and out of the sliding door? Perpetratorology, maybe, if that's a word, might say that if a perpetrator has been successful coming into a dwelling one way, they're going to go out that way. And it seems like he left through the sliding door, so he probably came in there, I guess. Oh, he looked, oh dear. Yeah, Bundy certainly had a type. So, this is this is too noir, really. It's way too early, but whatever. It's really ridiculous that this person thought he was... I mean, you have to think, actually, is he after the trial? Because if he's studying to be able to commit this amazing crime, it's going to blow everyone's minds, it's going to be setting the world on fire with Did he think he would go back and finish his PhD just down the road at WSU and be able to watch everything going on and just feel so smug and self-satisfied because he has, the great criminal mind? He has performed the perfect murder. I mean, what a dick. What an absolute dick. He's driving around in his own car with his own phone, showing a pattern of casing. He's left the sheath. It was done for a reason. He was angry. So you think it's revenge kill? Because I was thinking, okay, it's thrill, revenge, some sort of combination of that, right? And I thought the house itself was targeted rather than a person, even though, that could have been a bonus to him, right? If he did know of who lived there. But, the house, it's kind of like just this sort of little sitting duck, isn't it? And when serial killers are getting away with murders, mostly they're doing these bit more, these more obscure things, right? And I think he could very well be involuntarily celibate. I don't think he's going to I don't think he identifies that way openly or even to himself, I don't think he would identify as an incel. I don't think he would say it's because of that, because I think he's quite different to Elliot Rodger, and although it might seem like a mass murder as such, I think the pattern, even though he's not a serial killer yet, he's just a multi-murderer. He's a quadruple homicide committer. Who's to know if he wouldn't go on to act like a serial killer? His actions seem to be more like a serial killer rather than a sort of this mass murderer, and quite often they get in the shootouts and it's all very dramatic, or they put a bullet in their head, because they are acting in this in sort of this different way, aren't they? Oh yeah, the experience, the infamy, whatever came of it, get away with it, great, see how that feels. Well, now he's got to experience never having his freedom ever again, is my prediction. Yeah, but, ballsy, Mark, that's right. He's gone into this house, but, he's cased it. He thinks he's chosen a really good target. He's thinking that, females. And, late night partiers, tired, not at their best, catching them unawares in their beds, completely by surprise. He's probably been looking through Kaylee and Madison's windows. Melissa Coburger wrote that. Bereft of their laughter, there is now not a sound as we lower our children into the ground, small hands and feet buried 6 feet deep into the earth of the world that failed them. Look, a lot of us can probably emotionally connect with some of the feelings that Melissa Kohberger appears to have about what is going on in society now, and how our greatest asset, our children, how unsafe they are. Wow, that's yeah. I'd love to get a link for that later. I'll come and get that off you, maybe Josh, if I can. So clearly he's been exposed to a lot of, a particular ideology, right? Is he trying to, would he be trying to please his mother or show her to be wrong, right? Does he think she cared more about other people and not the children in her home? Does he have some, harbour some resentments deeply, thinking that she's let him grow up, not fitting in or something, right? That ridiculous, I shouldn't say it's ridiculous, but it didn't seem very scientific, right? The way if you're going to write a survey and everything is you have to ask the same question several different times, and you have to have all these, they have to be written in a certain way. It's a definite skill. It's a science. And his was clearly just trying to see what criminals had done to plan their crimes. He didn't seem to take into account that criminals are big fat liars, braggarts. Half the time maybe they didn't know what they're doing. They're going to lie about their motivations. They're going to lie about their brilliance. But, the place to learn how to really be a good criminal is in prison, even though, it's making up a subset of people that got caught. Oh, okay, sorry. So Melissa is Coburger's. I'm not really up with all the info, Josh. Coburger's sister, Melissa, is a mental health expert. She wrote that, and their mother published it with writings about Uvalde school shooting. She wants the madness to stop. Yeah, as ironic as fuck, says Cement Shoes. And it is ironic as fuck, isn't it? Wow, I mean now, oh my God, now my head is spinning. My mind's reeling now. I've just got so much to think about now with all of that. You know what? Now, a lot of people won't like this. And I can't, but intelligence comes down from the, generally like an IQ intelligence, comes down from the mother. Sorry, my dog is wanting to come in. Do you really? You do? Do you? Don't wander around because you're going to walk into things, okay? So I've just moved things around for a minute. I'm going to come there. Apologies. Jean has the ponderance about nature and nurture. It depends, I guess, what sort of whether you're talking about particular personality disorders, whether you are talking about sociopathy or what, doesn't it? Mark thinks his parents had absolutely no clue. See, this is the thing too, right? We've got Professor on radio silence, and she will have to be. But, all the teachers professors and everything that he was surrounded out at school, surrounded by at his university, one of them's written 68 books or something like that, right? And no, it's not appropriate that she makes any sort of comment at this stage. So she's not keeping silent out of shame that she didn't pick up on him being, you know, a murderer in the making. But at the same time, isn't it so hilarious? Because academics, I think this is really, I think this is interesting, right? Because you've got academia, right? You can study till the cows come home. You can't really understand, and everything is always tainted with the writer or the researcher's beliefs or emotions and things, right? We've got Dr. Dorothy Lewis, who, you know, she'd look at Bryan Kohberger and she'd want to, first she'd scan his brain, she'd be looking for brain damage. I mean, apparently his nose has always been that way, but what if he had a hit in the head when he was a kid and there's brain damage? So first she'd do that, and then she'd hypnotize him, she'd do some hypnotherapy, and during this hypnotherapy she would discover repressed memories of abuse. So there'd be trauma, there's brain damage, and she'd say, well, and then the dissociation, and then she would be diagnosing him as a dissociative, right? So that would be Dr. Dorothy Lewis, and she will do that with every fucking serial killer she comes across. She is the SK's BFF, and she, just like all these other people that are, you know, it's like we've got BTK's daughter coming out and talking, well, the people writing about BTK, well, they are writing about him from their own angles as well. And when you're having interviews with a killer, what they're doing is telling you what they want to hear, what you want to hear. And that becomes, you know, they think that they're getting the real truth. They're not, right? No one is getting the real truth. Maybe Bryan's brilliance is that he understood this. He understood, okay? Because, you know, he's got a mum and Melissa, and, you know, they're against the death penalty, and they thought that was ultimately just too cruel to do that to Ted Bundy or anybody. And, you know, he's in a world where he's meeting all these professors, just writing all these books, and all they can really do is just give their opinion. They can be learned, they can know statistics, facts, and figures, but until you've really done it, right? So maybe he wanted to be able to write the definitive book, right? Because he knows, you know, as I was saying before about fear, there is nothing akin to experience. So I'm just scrolling through comments. Not blaming the parents, but as a mum, I can see traits in my daughter. Yeah, you'd have to, you'd be so fearful, and you'd want to protect them as well. You want to protect the world from them, but you want to protect them, and you want to maybe try and create some sort of world where, okay, maybe it's all right. Maybe if I make the world like this will be an okay world where my daughter can live and everything will be okay, you know. Yeah, Bryan's single source of DNA Coburger. Yeah, and they did. And I guarantee you they knew he was odd. I mean, look, I have had the same experiences around food that Bryan's had. And I think this was really great. This was something good in the affidavit, because Bryan and his you know, that obsession. He was out of control with his obsession about food to the point of, you know, not wanting flesh to touch something. Well, why not? I mean, he wasn't an ethical vegan, right? So he's spared Murphy the dog, right? So in the affidavit, you know, it's been read out one by one, the names, you know, Zaina, a human being, Dylan, a human being, Ethan, a human being, Kaylee, a human being, you know, and yeah, I really admire that judge just spitting that back into his face. Yeah, I mean, he's just, you know, you get it's see, this is it's I wish I had the words for this now. I've made videos on it before where I might have maybe explained this, but when you get these disorders and these obsessions, and it doesn't actually matter what the motive is, whether you're paranoid because it's about your health and you become orthorexic, so you can only eat 2 or 3 things and that's it, because everything else might, you know, harm you or something, or it's filthy or it's bad or it's, you know, I'm just sorry, I'm just having so many blanks, but I do know the terminology for it. It's just found it and I can't think of it, but it's, I guess you could say it's, you know, the obsessive compulsive type of thing, but it's different. It's beyond that. It's very distressing. It takes hold of you. Everything becomes real. You just can't rationalize out of it. Yeah, you are. It is obsession, I guess. Him putting a needle in his arm. Now, I don't know that we can believe that he took heroin. He may have taken heroin, but that's hearsay. We don't know it. Mark's an all meat and versus all grass boy. Hi, Lips. Breaking a self-imposed live ban just to swing by and say hello and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, I hope you're well. I've been carrying on about like a bit of a la-la, haven't I, in the Delphi thing, whoopsie doodles. Still got a few things to say about that, but anyway. Cement's a proud carnivore as well. Yeah. Yep. We are animals, we're human animals, and we don't need to harm ourselves overly with the wrong fuel. So since Mark did mention, you know, because I know we've heard, you know, this hearsay from people that, you know, were at school with him, things that say that he became a heroin addict. I mean, are they just assuming that because he really lost a lot of weight? I mean, how did he afford it? He's not from a rich family. He wasn't able to siphon off funds. Maybe he was working and spending all his money on heroin, but really, I don't know. Other drugs will do it, and maybe it was more like methamphetamine or something like that. Maybe he finally got an ADHD diagnosis and he got some Ritalin and that helped. Don't know. Jean's had intensive treatment for agoraphobia and have been in treatment with obsessive compulsives. It's horrible. Yeah. Oh, heroin's cheap there, is it, Josh? I mean, everything's cut with fentanyl now, right? Yeah. I guess heroin became, I mean, yeah, I guess it comes and goes. Heroin had a big day in the 80s over here. And then in the 90s, that kind of segued into what you probably call Molly, which is ecstasy. There's always been acid. There's always been pot, I guess. But then what really damaged society was the methamphetamines, and that's called all sorts of names over here in New Zealand. So it's P in New Zealand, Shabu, just meth, crystal, yeah. And that is absolutely how destructive. Yeah, I think that's the real big bad wolf. Your friend told you heroin's cheap, yeah. For the record, yep, let's just lay this down now. The lab has never done heroin. Yeah, and yeah, in the US, it's the same as in the US, Jean. Here, yeah, ice is P, shabu, meth, ice. I mean, yeah, we smoke it in a little glass pipe, turns to vapor, and you will just be bouncing off the walls. And it's cultural too. A lot of cultures. So, for example, usually male gay scene. Yeah, they'll often get quite dangerously into, yeah, a really bad sex scene using meth. Pot would ruin Jean's good beer buzz. It looks just like ice. Josh's friends told him, yeah. Yeah. You know, in different places, things, you know, different things are probably easy or difficult to come across. But, you know, I have to say this. Pot is not safe. Pot is not safe. It's not gentle. It's not just the cool thing. It's very damaging. It's psychologically damaging. It's sociologically damaging, because anything can be misused. You get these long-term users that just think they are just like, hey man, like, nothing wrong here. I've been doing this shit for 25 years. And they are wackadoodle. I have had some of the worst two of the worst experiences of my life, and experiencing fear has come about by unlucky associations. Yeah, from living under the same roofs as long-term pot smokers. He's having 12. When it was, yeah, and you know, this is the thing too, everything eventually is cut with things, and you don't know what you're going to get. And at the moment, fentanyl is killing everybody. I mean, speed, you know, they'd cut speed with anything, right? You know, it could be laundry powder. Yeah, there's a danger in everything. But, you know, there's a heyday for everything. Yeah, but the heydays never last. But yeah, there was some good things coming in. I wonder, I think Shane Atwood, probably, I think he was moving some good gear around, and I think when he went to prison, the supply definitely stopped from Holland of all the Mitsubishis and... Anywho, I digress. Yeah, don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. Yeah, you can't tell that they're high, but the thing is, do you notice that they get more and more erratic, Mark? Erratic ideas, erratic speech, that they think they're perfectly normal, but they're having some really crazy ideas. Yeah. So, well, shall we talk about anything else, or sorry, it's like watching paint dry, isn't it? I often do this, and I'm thinking. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they can be genuinely fine. You just subscribe to me. Thanks, Jane. Yeah, what else could we discuss? Like, what little angles that were immediately interesting? You know, we've got this, yeah, I mean, look, there could be 100 reasons why he did it, and we might be wrong, but it's fun to try and work it out. Was he trying to impress someone, even though he thought maybe they will never know it's him, like his parents, or until they know more about what they thought? Did he despise them in some way? Did he think he was going to be going on to be some sort of Dexter, or did he think this would be a one-off that he could just carry with him, and that, you know, if he got caught, he got caught? Well, that would be an experience too, right? He gets to have his trial. Or is this the worst thing? You know, did he think he'd go on, complete his PhD, maybe write some books, go on TV as a talking head, be a specialist, you know, offer advice to police when they're running their court trials, you know, as a forensic criminologist, help them, you know, study the scene and come up with angles. All the while is the, you know, the slipperiest, most clever serial killer right there under their noses. I mean, what a schmuck. Envy. You think he envied the people in that house, how easy life seemed for them? See, this is the thing, right? Life wasn't easy for those young adults. You know, you look at the mothers and the stepmothers in Maddie and Zana's lives. They're struggling with addictions and trouble with the law, and why would he assume that it's just so Aurora night, like the Aurora lights, beautiful? Why would he assume that they just have these blessed lives, that nothing's been hard? It simply wasn't true. And he's lurking on the fringes, observing. You know, I have compassion. I have compassion for the outliers, for the people that find it difficult socially, right? Because he is willing to be caught, yeah. But, you know, college is See, that would have been really hard for him because he had had his time and he hadn't come out of college, with this tight group of friends. Have we heard from anyone that actually did university days with him? Did he do 2 years of something? And then he must have had a break and now he's, I don't know, I can't work it out. I haven't worked it out yet. But, those kids, they were making friends for life sort of thing, right? Friends that they will see each other ongoing and they'll have reunions, or they'll always be close, or they maybe bring children up together, or have holidays away, or, be running businesses and support each other in that throughout their life, or whatever it is, these fast friends for life. That's what people make at university. And I feel, it's likely that he didn't do that. And it might have been lust for the girls. Apparently he had girlfriends. One person I heard talking that supposedly knows him said that he lost weight, and so he became more outgoing and obviously more attractive maybe, or more confident, and he did have some girlfriends. This is the thing about incels as well, because incels think, they don't understand it's just them. It's them. That's repellent. They're truly repellent. It's their personality, their personas. It's what is lurking underneath that, breaks through. And that's why people don't want to date them and sleep with them, right? And if that is true, it was Bryan that was at that brewery that they said that he would ask the girls, hey, where do you live? What time do you leave? I mean, honestly, now, is this the great, this great criminologist student? He knows better than that, surely, right? So you have to think that he's suffering. I've wondered if there is some sort of onset of schizophrenia. He's in the right age group for it to have been developing over the years, and his background, with what I understand for now about how he's been, that certainly could have been on the simmer, and that's going to impair your judgment. Mark thinks that he might have known some of the girls. Do you think that he knew where they worked or something? If he was casing that house, he'd probably seen them coming and going. So maybe a couple of times he'd followed them from where they've been out. So did Melissa go to Idaho University? And is that house just known? And it didn't really matter who was going to be in there, right? It's just the party house. I wonder if he has known of it for longer than just, a few months or something. He got a new phone in June. Did he think somehow this new phone was never going to be traced? And was that his new phone because he wanted a fresh start? Because this since June last year, I wonder what killer has ever stalked a house. I think they do. I think there are people that stake out locations, because there are definitely all sorts of predators that know where to go to get a particular type of victim. Mark thinks, he knew at least one of them. Do you think he was expecting Ethan, or did he think that he'd just kill the two upstairs and didn't want to kill anyone, and, because there was a disturbance, maybe he hadn't realised somehow that Zana had just gotten food, so he was taken by surprise himself when Ethan and Zana were up. You know, maybe he didn't really expect to be trying to attack a grown man and, you know, 4 people. Do you have any ideas on why he sort of just walked straight past Dylan? Do you think he even noticed? It doesn't really bear thinking about. It's pretty horrific. But that's back where we started, right? Was I just wanted to say that, you know, it's very hard for some people, I think, to, you know, what people seem to be doing, this, the sympathizing, right? The sympathizing, oh, you know, poor girl, but they're judging because it's not true empathy. They're not climbing down that ladder into that pit to sit there with Dylan. That's empathy. Sympathy's, are you okay? Can I get you anything? Want me to throw you down a blanket? You know, that's sympathy. But empathy, you've got to get down into that pit with Dylan. And if you can't imagine how terrifying that was, and how, you know, yes, sure, you know, we all like to imagine we'd do certain things, and maybe actually some of us have been heroes in certain situations, right? And you've been extremely courageous, extremely brave. Well, Dylan has too. She has gone through a deeply traumatizing experience. I'll just tell you this, and I'll tell you something about trauma, and then I'll go, because I'm being a bit boring, but it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if it comes from, you know, someone is shell-shocked from war, so, you know, maybe they've got PTSD, CPTSD, okay, that trauma is the same trauma that one other person might experience. Say they were in a devastating car crash. Maybe they lost family members in this car crash, or maybe they survived, but it was so terrifying, you know, and they've been in hospital and had to recover. That's trauma. It's all the same. It's same to the person feeling it. The person who has just survived a quadruple homicide in their house when the body of the killer, I mean, are you really trying to feel that, picture that? Can you imagine? I mean, imagine how your heart starts when you think you hear something, right? You imagine that person has just walked by you in your hallway and you know something bad's happened, right? There is not separating the PTSD that person is suffering from the PTSD that someone is suffering coming back from war. So, yeah. Mark thinks he had a clue about it all because of his schooling to get away with it, but his anger turned him sloppy. I mean, imagine taking the knife into the house, it's in its sheath. He didn't unsheath his knife in the vehicle before he went in, right? He's gone in with his knife. I mean, this people are going, what a brilliant guy. He's not a brilliant guy. I mean, number one, to choose to do this is not brilliant anyway, right? It doesn't matter if he's got a high IQ. I mean, this guy's emotional IQ is through the floor, okay? It's putrid. And unfortunately, everyone's going to be giving him attention. I mean, I know I am. Sorry in advance. But yeah, I'm going to be wanting to know definitely about his family's stance on things. I mean, this has just excited, you know, that part of my brain, right? That curious part of my brain. I want to know about the ideology in his family. And yeah, I really do want to know. But we are never going to understand it. We'll never get the whole picture. Only Bryan knows this, right? He's not an incel. I don't think they're going to find in his flat. I think he's been very smart by keeping all his research maybe to school or something, maybe, right? So maybe there's going to be nothing found in his flat. I mean, it could be wrong, but I don't think a manifesto is going to come out, right? Because he's not Elliot Rodger, you know. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, so PTSD, Dylan is living with it, and Jean thinks maybe someone has quipped something off at him, maybe, you know, brushed him off. If this is true about how Bryan was approaching girls at the brewery, then yeah, he's probably gone up quite bluntly and asked them something, and I've just said, in your dreams, mate. Yeah, and maybe he's taken that as a slight and he's seethed over it. I mean, that certainly would help him. So you got to think, what comes first, chicken or the egg? What comes first, victim or the idea? And to me, it seems like it's the idea with Bryan. I think he's probably going to be. It seems like the idea of serial killers, it's caught fire in its brain. I think, yeah, there probably is some sort of he's troubled in some way, and you know, and he's fixated on something. He's got this you know, I can't find my words tonight, you all know what I mean. And that's been that. And so that's been his secret desire for a long time. And I think the desire to be a serial killer's come before. I know, yeah, Mark, I know. Yeah. But, you know, they are often, I don't know, they're often people they'll get in their car and use that as a weapon and go and mow people down, you know, or be a school shooter. Yeah, I think this was something different, even if there's elements of being a person that wasn't socially acceptable in terms that suited him. But you know, what a silly mistake though, Mark, right? Why do you think he just left the knife sheath there? Do you think that when he returned at 9 o'clock in the morning, has he just, the adrenaline's worn off, he probably started getting like really dropped, really slumped, he was probably actually just desperate to sleep, and then he's just gone, the knife sheath, and he's had to drive all the way back. How risky, right? He's driven back at 9 o'clock. Now, do you think it was because he wanted to just be a bystander? Because he thought, oh, there'll be cars there will be ambulances, there'll be the big, you know, there'll be news stations right out there already. I mean, he wouldn't have heard a peep on it on the radio. Did he go back for the knife sheath and then he's lost his balls? He couldn't go in because maybe everyone's starting to wake up around him. Yeah, there are a heap of bunch of distasteful people. Sometimes those are the chads, right? And this guy chose to be a crybaby. Yeah, there could have been ways that he could have turned the situation around, right? But he just wasn't able to, you know. There's something just very set within, right? You know, that id was very set. Where's do I have it here? I wonder what, if anything, this book could do to explain some of it. I read part of this, I think, out, and it's probably in my Valet Daybell playlist, about Chad Daybell. I read a bit of this out. The Unconscious Forces That Shape Men's Lives, Dark Hearts, by Lauren E. Peterson. Yeah. Man the Slayer, the dark side of masculinity. Awareness of evil. Hey, well, maybe that's something that I could read out when I can find my eyeglasses, because this is written very small. That actually might be quite interesting to have a look at and to ponder. Not that we know anything about Bryan, but, you know, and that'll just start a whole new debate with people as well, won't it, about evil. They'll say, well, this is a religious concept and everything. And, you know, sometimes we just feel like we don't have the right word to describe, you know, a mofo who decides that they have the right to, not just that you have the ability, that you have opportunity, that, you know, we can do sorts of things to anybody, can't we? This is how we, you know, we've got to express our human values, and they're expressed through the law. The law is an expression of human values that mean, you know, that hopefully makes it possible for us to live together in society without the fear of this terrorism, whether it's one-on-one, you know, serial killers or what, right? And so, you know, this book is going to use some terms that people are going to go, well, that's religious doctrine, but it's not meant that way, I don't think. But maybe I'm going to read that and see if I should read it out as a video for you. It's very interesting. Sorry, how rude of me, just skimming through this. The sociopath, archetype of the unrelated. Okay. That's, of course, going to talk about dissociation from the anima and all of that. Yeah. I think I might do that. I mean, there's other things in this book. That one was man as the slayer. There's the men's sense of love and all of that. The Oedipal wound, of course, and I wonder, is there anything of that going on in Bryan's male psychology? Interesting. All right, chaps and chapsesses, thanks for listening. I just wanted to say that about fear and about experience, and, you know, and yeah, sure, very, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I wish he did too, but, you know, I'm not going to ponder on calling 911 and what happened, because until you're her, I don't think you really, you know, I don't think people are really putting themselves into that house of horrors, into that situation, using all of their senses and what that would have been like to see, feel, smell, sense, you know, Bryan walk past, and she saw him masked with his eyes. Can you imagine? I mean, his eyes, what they looked like, and just try and be that person. Yeah. And there are things that, you know, doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists might be able to explain, to do with the amygdala and all of the hormone responses and everything that are going on in the body, because, you know, it's well studied. And anyway, I think we need to cut her a break. So anywho, thank you everybody that has come in to say hello. Jean and Mark and Cement and Josh and Lipsha popped in for a minute. Oh, Mary 70. I didn't see you there, Mary. She does need love and support right now, Mary. That is so spot on. And let's just, I don't know, Karen Baz. Hi, Karen Baz was having insomnia as well. Thank you for coming. Matt, to anyone that's come in that's very kind and you've all enjoyed chatting to each other, which has been lovely. Linda came in and that was lovely to see Linda. I think Linda mods for Josh, amongst other things. Patsy. Patsy was talking about the traffic stops. Yeah, so thank you everyone, and I do have a few things to say about something that's happening in Delphi right now, because, you know, a few seconds or a minute can really make a difference, and there's fuckery going on when it comes to people manipulating people's thoughts about a timeline, and there's a few different ways you can look at a particular part of the timeline, and depending on your motivation, you'll see it one way and not the other, so to speak. And anyway, it's infuriating. All right, well, thanks everyone. I'll sign off and take care of yourselves if you are up in the wee hours of the morning. I hope you get some sleep. I don't know what time it is here, but it's just the evening. It's not too late, I don't think. Yeah, see you later. Bye.